Welcome back to my channel, guys. It is 9 o'clock at night here. Um, but it's quiet, so I'm gonna take advantage of it a little bit. So, I read this book, Silver Leap by Danny Francis. If you saw my short, I was having the biggest debate with myself if I was going to make a full video on this book. And there was a couple reasons. One, it's a 2-star book for me. I didn't really particularly care for it. I don't like to be too negative on this channel. I listened to actually half his age and I gave that a 2-star, and I will not be reviewing that on my channel. Um and I listened to Deep End last year and I didn't review it on my channel. There's just things like, if I think I'm going to be like super, super negative about it and it doesn't give any value to anybody watching it, I'm probably just not going to bother, and we can all move on. Um, so just be aware, if you really do love this book, you don't want to hear any criticisms, definitely get it. Um, Definitely understand. I have so many other videos. I have a lot of romantasy on my channel. Um, if you're interested in any of my other content, you're more than welcome to. But if you felt the same way, or you're okay with hearing negative critiques on this, I am just going to put it out there that there is a lot of controversy with this book where it may or may have not been written by AI. Reading it, I have my same debate too. But also with all the discussions from about editing, and I don't think we've been getting a lot of beta reading of these books and everything. It could possibly be that type of situation. Um the characters, and I was listening to the audiobook too, and I found this kind of weird. The audiobook sounded very, very robotic. Like, it didn't even, like, the audiobook didn't even sound like it was like humans, like, actually reading the book. So I had to read this with my eyeballs, and that just made it take longer. Um, Another caveat is I do like romantasy and I do like dystopian. So this is a romantasy slash dystopian book about a girl named Ren. She secretly has powers. People are hunted down, having silver blood. You're hunted down. Most of them are telepaths, is what I was getting. So, couple of things when you're breaking down, and this is why I'm reviewing this, because I think I'm bringing a whole I'm I'm reviewing this in a different way. What was the major setback of this was how the characters were written. The characters were very robotic. Um Strange things would just pop up. Um I'm gonna try not to spoil too much, but I am going to just spoil a slight bit of this book, so I will let people know when I'm in that territory. I If it is a romantasy, even if it's a fantasy romance, if romance is your goal, the love interest, I don't care how many you have, that is not me, that's not a problem for me. I have to feel everything that they're feeling. Because if I'm at the point to where I don't care what happens to you or your significant other, I'm like, bow out. Like, but what's nice about romantasy is, okay, is the fantasy good? And with dystopian, um, setting is very crucial. A lot of dystopian especially when we're talking about my most favorite one, which is The Handmaid's Tale. A lot of it is that environmental intrigue. Um, you don't necessarily need these vibrant characters in a dystopian. Um, like I actually feel like Katniss is a very subdued character. She has a lot of personality, but I wouldn't say she's like a firecracker like what we would get in like A Court of Thorns and Roses, or even Ven and Mistborn once she gets out of her shell a little bit. Like, Katniss is very subdued. She has her moments where she breaks out of her shell, but there's like a lot of silence, and the actress that plays Katniss does such a great job, and I can't think of her name right now. But I don't need like an over-the-top character when I'm talking about dystopian. Dystopian is one of those where you can have simpler minded characters. And I think the problem with this book is the writer was trying to do a very witty, snappy character, but nobody responded like well, and I'm just like, the banter wasn't great, and then the love talk wasn't great, and I'm like, he calls her Dove instead of Ren, and I'm just like, I couldn't relate to it. And then, like, when you find out stuff, like, within the book, once, like, once you're, like, in the last 100 pages, like, there's usually a big twist. And I'm gonna spoil something, so 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna spoil somewhat of the ending of this book, which is, okay, Wolf is the guy, what is his name? I didn't even care. Cross. Okay, so Wolf is Cross at the end of the book, which is the guy that she falls in love with. This isn't enemies to lovers. I was like, okay. Why we needed 500 pages to get to the ending, I have no idea. This book actually, this book would have actually been a sweet, like, 300 pages. And I'm not even kidding. Like, I miss the days where you used to pick up a YA novel and they were like 300, like maybe like 250, 300. Like, that is a sweet spot for this type of story. Especially for a first book where you're like developing the characters, you're like setting up the setting and everything. Perfect size. 250, 300. Sweet spot. Anything above that, probably not worth it. And that's kind of how I felt with this. I wasn't liking this book from page 1. Like, I was like, I want to DNF this, but I want to see how it goes, because it is a dystopian. It's one of my favorite types of genres. And I'm like, if the relationship is really hot, it might work for me. I think the other problem with this is they try to bring the Hunger Games into it, which is not, like, anything that is involved with that love triangle in the Hunger Games. I sit there and I just, after everything that Katniss goes through in the Hunger Games, like, it just doesn't work. It works in this because, one, they are adults, and two, like, the first scene of this book is a steamy scene. Like, you start this book knowing what you're getting yourself into. So the rushed relationship, and all that stuff, that did not surprise me at all. Because because that's just kind of the personality of Ren in the first place. Where I think Suzanne Collins was maybe forced to write that relationship. I don't know what that thing, but that felt forced. So, but it doesn't feel forced in here. But I'm like, would you really fall in love with your captor so easily and so fast? I We can have like a full discussion, and I do a lot on this channel when I am analyzing romanticides, the difference between lust and love, um, and the importance of knowing what the characters are actually going through. Because I think a lot of people, when they read romanticy, they're like, it's a love story. And it's not necessarily, especially in today's age. I feel like a lot of us go through different types of relationships that aren't necessarily like lovey-dovey type stuff. And this is probably a very deep conversation I could have if I got into a dark romance and stuff like that. But when you're talking about like a very intense situation, like I can understand why they go to that place so quickly. And I'm just like, I guess I'm such a banter person. So when I'm reading an enemies to lovers, that banter better be hitting. And it better be hitting hard, and it better be the best banter I've ever read, or, heard or whatever. And it just depends on, like, how, like, do the characters really need it? And when you're talking about enemies to lovers, yes. And I think the other problem is Ren is such, like, it could have been an any girl situation and with any guy kind of thing. And I was like, I don't even like Ren by herself. Because I was like reading this and I was having like a Fourth Wing situation. Which, if you've ever seen my review, I have a review of Fourth Wing. I think I gave Fourth Wing like a 3.5. And what I said about that turned me off of Fourth Wing was I didn't like the characters together. I love the characters apart in Fourth Wing. That's why, like, I still own the second one. I will probably have a review of Iron Flame eventually. But if I don't like your characters separately and you can't put them together, like, this was a big, huge character disappointment. And going back to kind of how this may or may not have been written, there is a thing called beta readers. What a beta reader is it's somebody that reads your content not for grammar, spelling, or anything like that. They are reading it for vibes. And what I think is missing from the editing experience is you're getting the alpha readers, because I can still read this book. Like, this is, like, grammar, spelling, nothing was wrong with that. It was like the beta part of it. And I think people aren't getting that part of your reading. Because if they were, one, the books would be a lot shorter. Let me tell you right now, books are way too long for no reason. And that's not me just like wanting to get through like 500 books a year or something like that. That's not it. I'm reading this book and it feels like beta-wise, this is a first draft. Like, you needed to go in here maybe 2 or 3 more times and cut out like a whole bunch of stuff. Get it cleaner, get it more concise. And when you do that as a writer, you can make these characters shine because you're putting like the best foot forward for your characters. And I think that's what a lot of people that aren't in the writing sphere, that don't understand writing, but then you read these books and you're like, I don't understand what people are talking about. And it's like I can even go back to like Twilight in my mind and kind of see that evolution of, especially like the first book was so concise and everything. And then when you got further down the line, so by like the fourth book, it just felt like there was like way too much. And that's what I feel like is going on with this romantasy genre, which is really disappointing because there is some really cool characters that like could be explored in these books. And as fantasy readers, like we don't get the Pride and Prejudice like love scenes in our fantasy. Normally, there's a couple newer stuff and that are not romantasy. Like I'm just talking about fantasy. That there is some epic love scenes in those fantasies. But we just don't get it a lot. So having a genre that I can jump into and get those like epic romantic scenes like makes me really happy as a reader, in all honesty. Like I don't have any problems with any genre. Now do I read a lot of other genres? No, not really. Like it's been a while since I've read a mystery book. But and more of that's like, you potentially have a dog die and I just don't want to read stuff like that. Can read it in fantasy. If it's mystery, it feels too real and I'm just like, please no. But back to this. Yeah, this had such an interesting premise. Sorry guys. Premise where I'm like, I feel like if it was in different hands, like it could have been something really, really good. Like I feel like the Games Gods Play like had better banter than this. And that was a romantasy that just came out recently. Like if she had these characters, I feel like they would have came to life. And that's what I felt like was needed, was that banter, the more personality. I needed to explore the setting a little bit more. I needed to feel like when we're having a sad scene, like I was like, I'm just bored. And I'm an easy crier. Like my boyfriend can tell you, I am an easy crier, okay? So it doesn't take me a lot to feel the emotions for characters. It really doesn't. Like a character yells mommy and like epically going wrong or something, like I'm in tears. I'm done. A big execution scene of somebody that the character cares about, I'm done. If you follow this channel, you might know what books I'm not talking about. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it's really easy for me to like lose it and cry. So when I was reading, it's towards the beginning of the book. I don't feel like this is much of a spoiler. So when Ren's uncle gets executed, like, I was just like, okay, cool. Like, not feeling a lot of emotion. I'm like, this is not going to be a good time for me if these characters don't start pulling their weight in this book. What I will probably do is, I know Kimberly from Kimberly Reads, really good channel. She only has like 4,000. She really liked the first book, and I know she's gonna read the second one. So depending on kind of the reviews of the second one, if anybody like, if a bunch of people are saying it's better, I might go pick it up at the library. Can't listen to it on audiobook, so I will probably go pick it up at the library and see. But I am a no-go on this series unless somebody convinces me otherwise. Like, and that's how I felt about the first Fourth Wing book too. I was like, even if I like the second one, I will probably just still get rid of it, and then probably just get the third one at the library. But anyway, if you made it this far, like, thank you so much. But I in the comments, if you have feelings about like negative reviews on my channel, please let me know. I want to keep this channel as positive as possible, but if I feel like I have something interesting that can add to the conversation, I will probably review a book. I am never going to probably do a rage review unless it's something like I've already read the book or something like that. Like, if I ever review 1984, I will rage review 1984. But which I've been I've been on a roll. I've reread 2 classics within a couple months. So, I guess watch out for maybe another classic review reread or something. I'm hoping to read some new ones, but you know, I don't know what my life's gonna look like. But anyway, yes. Like and subscribe. I am here Sundays and Thursdays. Sunday for books, coming back slowly. And Thursdays for any other media. And yeah, just let me know all the things. If you like this book, like, let me know what you liked about it. I know people did. I know this is a TikTok darling. I think it's actually even a romantasy darling. I know a lot of people in the romantasy sphere gave it high reviews. I just personally, I am a lot pickier about characters. And that's just coming from somebody that not only read high fantasy, but, Game of Thrones, and even Brandon Sanderson, I feel like he has some really good characters. Robin Hobb, even Olivia Blake. Like, I read, Pierce Brown. Like, I read from authors that write fantastic characterization. And I feel for authors right now that can't get the editing that they need to just up their writing by like a couple steps. Like, and that's the sad thing about where we're at right now in the book sphere. Sorry, I'm now giving you my TED Talk. Just, if you read a book and you think there's still something there, don't be super, super harsh. Because there is a lot of editing that is not being done. we are not getting books edited. Like, if you were even in the sphere, like when we were doing like the urban fantasies, and like some of these authors were writing like a book a year, if not more, like, and to me those books were what they were meant to be, but the characters and everything like were just so much better. We're not in that age anymore. We're in the age of the good writers are going to stick out, and the bad writers are going to stick out even more, because I don't I think it's getting alpha edited, because like I didn't have problems reading. I don't have problems reading any book. I know there's like a few books that people complain about that aren't being even edited like that. And that to me is really sad, especially if you go to a professional publisher. Um, like, read your contracts, writers. Like, make sure they at least give you an alpha edit. And it's a promise alpha edit. Would be like my only suggestion. Being a writer myself, like, editing personally scares me, because I don't feel like I'm I'm like a really good beta reader. Like, I can tell you the vibe is off, and I can usually point you into something, but I am not really good with the grammar and the spelling. Like, we're we struggle with that sometimes. I passed all my classes that I needed, so how, I don't know. My boyfriend sometimes is like, are you sure? And I'm like, I think everything that you're thinking, I think is two different skills. And I'm just, I'm using one skill and not the other skill. But that is it for right now. Like and subscribe, and I hope you guys have a really good rest of your day. Bye.